Mr. Banadzem Joseph Lukon, you are the Social Democratic Front Parliamentary Group Leader at the Cameroon National Assembly. Now, the 2009 budget is on examination. Do you have some comment on that issue?
Definitely. We are here to examine the budget, and definitely I have some comments, and we have some comments on the 2009 budget.
Yes.
And well, in principle, before we get to 2009, we ought to look at the 2008 budget, or as you call it in the parliamentary procedure, the settlement bill, which is rather of 2007. But since you are interested in 2009, I have some comments, and as you say and as you know, I am the leader of the opposition in parliament. And over the years, for the past number of years, we have questioned the validity and the effectiveness of our budgets. This year again, when I look at the budget, there are so many negative comments which I can take from the present budget. If you want, I can just enumerate a few of them to you.
Yes.
To say that in the first place, the 2009 budget is reduced compared to the 2008 budget. That's already an indicator. Yes. The tendency has always been for the budgets to be on the increase, but this time it is on the decrease. Last year's budget, contrary to what is written in documents and what is said in public, last year's budget was 2,482 billion CFA. 2009 is 2,301 billion, a reduction. That's already a first indicator for Cameroonians to understand that there is a reduction in the budget. The second negative observation which I'm looking at is that taxes are going to increase. When you read the budget, it is specified very clearly that there will be increase in taxes. The tax base is going to be broadened. The tax administration is going to be empowered to make sure that they go on to collection. And when you observe that our populations are already crumbling under the weight of an old archaic tax system, which is too cumbersome, which needs reforms, the broadening of a tax base is not only going to laden our populations with heavy taxes, it's going to give room to tax collectors to again indulge in corrupt practices, because that is what they want. So that is one of the very, very serious things which we are not, people are not yet aware of, but which I can indicate that is going to happen. The third negative comment which I want to take is that this budget is not taking into consideration the issues which concern Cameroonians strongly, the issues of development, unemployment, and fight against corruption. These are ills which have been in the past, and we would have hoped that at every moment we would try to tackle the issue, all these issues which I raised, which lead in the long run to insecurity, because when people are poor, they cannot afford to live. They end up in stealing, in trying to do wrong things in order to survive. So this budget concentrates in what I call consuming ministries. When you want to take the top ministries that have the heaviest budgets, you find out that there are those which have nothing to do with tackling pro-poor activities and concerns. The presidency, Ministry of Finance, and so on. Those are areas which consume money, but which do not have any impact on society. Whereas, let me take an example. Many people have not reflected on that. You have some minor ministries which are the future of this country, the future of the world. Tourism, small and medium-sized enterprise, rural agriculture and rural development. These are areas where you can even triple or quadruple or multiply their budgets by 10 and give them objectives to create a number of jobs. But they have mega budget heads which do not permit them to function. And I think our priorities are wrongly set. So those are the some of the reactions I can take into, and go on to say that if we were to look at last year's budget before looking at this year's budget, you will find out that there is low consumption rate in those key ministries which I call pro-poor ministries: health, education, water and energy, rural agriculture and rural development, infrastructure. These are the ministries that registered the lowest consumption rate in the last budgets, and these are the ministries which ought to alleviate poverty. When you want to take, for instance, the Ministry of Water and Energy, where the consumption rate was 39%, out of a budget that was voted, 39% was consumed. And when you want to go detailedly to analyze this 39%, to understand that in that 39%, the taxes are included in it. 20% of it goes for taxes. The profit margin of the executor is in it. The kickbacks, which we know are a common feature in our country, are added into it, and all the other waste. You find out that in reality, not up to 15% was executed. Not up to 15, 10, 20% was executed. This low consumption rate, it we ought to address it in this budget. But you find out that the CPDM government, which is masterminding this budget, doesn't take that as any of their priorities. So the tendency is for that low consumption rate to continue in the next budget, in the 2009 budget. And if you were to look into other areas of interest, like the issue of salaries of civil servants,
yes,
which have multiplying effects in public. Last year we fought until they had a minor increase in April. It did not come from Parliament, as we fought in the SDF. It was the president who indicated into it. We insisted that they ought to reinstate the salaries of 2002, which were slashed down in November 2003 drastically. And since then, we have not had any salary increase. Until you redress that situation, budgets will not have any sense in Cameroon, because civil servants who are supposed to operate these budgets, they will find ways of swindling money, of indulging in practices in order to make ends meet. And to end, because I don't want to go to the litany of negative comments about it. There are so many that I don't know how to end and start with it. I want to say that when I take this budget and I want to look at its various headings: operational budget, almost 60%, that's 59.94%. That is running costs and so on, salaries and so on. Then investment budget, 24%. And I've told you that the execution rate is so low. When you have an investment budget of 25%, with all the hazards of low rate and bad practices in it, you find out that our priority, our concern of development in this country cannot be met with an investment budget of 25%, which will be executed at half that percentage. So these are the comments which I think if you are to get to my other colleagues, or you yourself to interpret and analyze, you'll find out that my comments, negative as they are taking the aspirations of Cameroonians into consideration.